Denver, Colorado, the summer of my 10th year. I don't remember the exact date, but I remember that it was a summer morning when the sunlight filtered through the leaves, shining into the small room where I was lying. The chirping of birds outside the window couldn't dispel the strange feeling in my heart. That day, I was taken to a new house. A bigger, more beautiful house, but so strange that it made me feel like an outsider. "Hello, this will be your home from now on," the woman standing next to my father said, the smile on her lips not reaching her eyes. I nodded, trying to smile back, but my heart was filled with confusion and anxiety. A new life begins. The first days passed in silence and reserve. I was arranged to stay in a small room at the end of the hallway, far from my father's room and the other woman, my stepmother. Her daughter, Lily, was my age, but we weren't close. She often looked at me with curiosity, sometimes contempt. "You're a bastard, aren't you?" Lily asked me one day when we were playing in the backyard. I didn't answer, just bowed my head. Feeling the blood rush to my face, I felt a sense of grievance and sadness that was hard to describe. However, I was living like a parasite dependent on this family. So I accepted and endured all the judgments, criticisms, and injustices, not daring to say a word. Dinner was the time when I felt most out of place. My father sat at the head of the table. My stepmother sat next to him, and Lily and I sat across from each other. Whenever I tried to join in the conversation, my stepmother would interrupt with a question for Lily, or cleverly change the subject. "Eat, don't talk too much," she said when I asked about my father's job. Many times like that, I learned to be silent, living like an invisible person in this house. No one wanted to talk to me or consider me a member of the family. At school, I was no better. Although I tried to study and integrate, I always felt different. Lily and I were in the same class, but she never talked to me at school. She even joined the group of friends who bullied me. A bastard without a mother, so pitiful. One of them mocked. I tried not to cry, but tears kept flowing. I had to act like a strong person, regardless of all the gossip, and continue living. It was hard for me to ignore all the words that were like knives stabbing my heart, little by little making my heart bleed. At night, I often lay awake, listening to laughter coming from the living room. My father and stepmother often watched movies or chatted. Their laughter echoed throughout the house. I felt like a ghost, existing but unseen. One day, when I had a high fever, my stepmother took me to the hospital. While waiting, she sat beside me, holding my hand. "You have to be strong. No one can help you but yourself," she said, her eyes looking far away. That was the only time I felt she cared about me. My life continued to pass in silence and loneliness. I learned to live without love, learned to survive in a family that I was never truly a part of. Denver, 2 years later. When I was 12, people often say that daughters are closer to their fathers. But to me, my father is a man who always appears at the right time, so that I won't be blamed, and disappears at the right time, so that I don't have to choose. He was the one who took me to school on the first day, but then never asked me how my studies were, how my teachers and classmates were, whether I had any happy or sad stories, or if I was bullied in class. He didn't care about those things. He was the one who smiled gently when Lily received her certificate for being a model student, but didn't congratulate me when I got the highest math score in the grade. And he was the only one who never scolded me. But not because he loved me, but because he never looked straight at me. One autumn evening, I was in my room, finishing my essay on what is family, when I heard Lily's voice from downstairs. "Mom," I saw her test. She got a 9.5. My stepmother, Dianne, replied, "It's okay. But you're still more special, you know? You're my daughter." Those words went through the crack in the door, right through my chest. I didn't cry. I just tore up the essay I was writing. My father walked in at that moment. He looked at the scrap of paper and asked softly, "What's wrong with you?" I looked up. For the first time, I decided to tell the truth. "Dad, I think Dianne loves Lily more." My father stood still. He didn't say, "No, I don't," like in the book. He didn't hug me either. He just looked at me, then sighed softly. Women often have a special attachment to their biological children. Don't take it to heart. Then he left. All I had left was the sound of quiet footsteps and the feeling that I had just disturbed him. His words seemed to remind me once again that I should wake up. I was just an adopted child, an extra in this family. I was useless, just a waste of food and rice, so I couldn't ask for or blame anything. From that day on, I stopped expecting my father to defend me. I called him Dad because that's what society dictated. But I knew that there was no connection between us other than the Bennett name. He was a man who knew how to be silent. Too good at being silent. Like a tree that could breathe. Harmless, invisible, and heartless. When I was 14, Lily and I joined the same art club. I signed up for piano. She chose ballet. I practiced every day in silence, in the corner of the room, with an old piano from my grandmother's time. Lily had new shoes, a new dress, and a private teacher. On the day of the rehearsal, I was chosen to play the opening solo. The whole school applauded after the performance. When I got home, my stepmother said, "Lily, you need to practice more. You let him get away with it." Lily cried. I felt guilty. It was ridiculous. That night, I heard my father say to my stepmother, "Come on. Don't make things difficult for the kids. They're my kids too." I waited for the next words. There was none. No protest, no fair request, no defense. Just come on. My father was good at soothing, but he didn't heal. He just delayed the hurt. The summer I was 15, I won the State Science Award. The invitation to the MIT graduate program for outstanding students came home. My stepmother said, "Can you go? Who's going to help with the housework this summer? Lily needs help studying for the SATs." I turned to my father. He looked at the invitation. His face lit up a little. Then it stopped. "Let's do it next year. Your mother is tired too. Family is more important than a degree." I put the invitation in the drawer. I didn't tell anyone else. That night, I dreamed that I was on stage, giving a speech on what is family. I tried to open my mouth. No sound came out. The next day, I started working part-time at a bookstore near my house. Not for money, but because I needed to know that outside of that house, there was someone who looked at me with normal eyes. Not the eyes of a freeloader. Not the eyes of trying to keep this child so that her father doesn't leave. When I was 16, I accidentally saw an email from my father. He left his laptop open on the table. I didn't mean to read it, but I didn't stop when I saw the subject line, regarding the custody of your stepdaughter. It was from a lawyer. I read it in silence. The most important line was, "We confirm that Mr. Bennett has no right to divide the assets for his stepdaughter without the authorization of his current wife." And he replied, "Understood. We will handle it internally." For the first time, I understood. Dad did not know. He just chose to stay silent, to avoid having to fight his wife. And I was not part of the choice. I was not angry with him. I just felt hopeless. When I was 17, I told my dad I want to go to college far away. very far away. He nodded. As long as I am happy. Didn't ask where I would live, how I would live. Didn't ask if I needed money. I understood. He was relieved. I left the house with a suitcase, a full scholarship, and $84. Dad didn't see me off. He was busy in an urgent meeting. Stepmom said, "I hope you learn to be grateful in life." I left. I didn't look back. Not because I'm strong, but because there's no one left to look back to. Denver, Colorado, the fall of my 21st birthday. I left that house at 17 with a small suitcase and a full scholarship from a faraway university. During the years of living independently, I gradually found myself again, built a new life, far away from the painful memories. One autumn afternoon, when the yellow leaves were falling all over the streets, I received a phone call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end of the line stunned me. "Son, it's Dad. I want you to come home for a while. There's something important to tell you." I was silent. It had been 4 years since I last heard his voice. "What's the matter, Dad?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "Just come back, everything will be clear." I hesitated, but finally decided to go back, partly out of curiosity, partly out of a faint hope that maybe things had changed. Back to the old house. The house was the same, but somehow colder. My stepmother and Lily were not home. My father sat in the living room, his face serious. "Sit down," he said, pointing to the chair opposite. I sat down, feeling anxious. "I want to talk to you about some legal papers," he began. "What papers?" I asked. "About the inheritance and the family property." I was surprised. What does that have to do with me? Actually, I'm not named in any of the papers. All the property is in the names of my stepmother and Lily. I was stunned. "But I'm your daughter." "Yes, but legally I have no right to inherit. My stepmother arranged everything a long time ago." I felt betrayed again. "So, why did you call me back?" "Dad wants me to sign some papers, giving up any rights I might claim in the future." I looked at him, not believing my ears. "You're asking me to give up my rights to protect my stepmother and Lily? I don't want any legal trouble. Everything's been arranged." I stood up, tears welling up in my eyes. "I can't believe it!" Dad chose them over me again. "Son, I'm sorry, but this is for the best for everyone." I left the house, heartbroken and disappointed. Not only emotionally, but legally, they wouldn't let me interfere. I thought that because he didn't want trouble in the family, didn't want to hurt Lily and her mother, he would always stay silent, neither defending nor blaming. But it turned out that he had never taken me into his heart. Even if we were blood related, nothing would change. Only they are my family, I am just a stranger. After returning, I decided to learn about my legal rights. I met a lawyer and told him the whole story. "You can sue to reclaim your inheritance," the lawyer said, "but I am not on any documents. We can prove the blood relationship and the injustice in the division of assets." I thought for a long time. In the end, I decided not to sue. I did not want to prolong the pain and hatred. Instead, I focused on building my own life. I changed my last name, took my biological mother's name, and started a new chapter in my life. I lost my family, but I found myself again. Actually, I never had a family. They did not consider me a family member. I just lived quietly like a shadow. I am no longer the abandoned girl, no longer the person without a name in the family. I am myself, with a new identity, a new life, and a future of my own choosing. Denver, Colorado, winter of my 25th year. For years had passed since I had officially severed all ties with my old family. I had changed my last name, taken my mother's name, and started a new life. I worked at a prestigious law firm where I was highly regarded for my competence and dedication. My life was gradually stabilizing, but my heart was still broken. One winter morning, as I was getting ready to go to the office, the phone rang. "Hello, this is Mr. Bennett's attorney. We need to see you to discuss some issues regarding his will." I was stunned. My father had passed away? He passed away? Yes, Mr. Bennett passed away last week. His will is related to you, so we need you to come to the office to discuss it. I agreed and arranged a time to meet with the attorney. Meeting with the lawyer. The law office was in an old building in the city center. I walked in, full of anxiety and curiosity. The lawyer was a middle-aged man with a stern expression. "You're Mr. Bennett's daughter, right?" "Yes." "In his will, Mr. Bennett left you a letter and some assets." He handed me an envelope. I opened it and read, "Dear daughter, I know that I have not fulfilled my responsibilities as a father. I have caused you much pain and loss. I am sorry for everything that has happened. I hope that you can forgive me and live a happy life. Love you, Dad." My tears rolled down my cheeks. Although it was late, at least he had realized his mistake. In terms of assets, Mr. Bennett left you a small house in the suburbs and some savings. I thanked the lawyer and left the office, filled with mixed emotions. Back to the old house. I decided to visit the house that my father left behind. It was a small house, peacefully located in the middle of a lush green garden. Inside, everything was carefully preserved. On the desk, I found a photo album. I opened it and saw pictures of me when I was young with my father. I couldn't hold back my tears. Before, I had blamed him a lot. I felt like I had no father, no family, because he had devoted all his love and good things to Lily and her mother. But now that he was gone, I missed and loved him so much. Looking at the things he had left and neatly stored, I thought that he loved me in his own way even though he was still wrong. I decided to move into this house to start a new chapter in my life. I quit my job and opened a small law firm, helping people who are having trouble getting their rights back. I want to use my knowledge and experience to help people who have been treated unfairly. Like I was. Life is not always fair, but we can choose how we respond to it. I have chosen to forgive and move on so that I do not let the past hold me back. Denver, Colorado, spring of my 26th year. After moving into the small house my father left me, I started a new life. I opened a small law office, specializing in helping people who have difficulty in regaining their rights. Work was busy, but I felt happy because I was doing what I loved and helping others. However, painful memories of my family still occasionally appeared in my mind. I decided to join a psychological support group to learn how to face and overcome the past. The group consisted of people from different backgrounds, but all had emotional wounds. We shared our stories, listened to each other, and encouraged each other. One day, I told my story. After listening, someone in the group said, "You have been through a lot of suffering, but you still stand strong and help others. That is a wonderful thing." Those words made me realize that no matter how painful the past was, I could still choose to live a positive and meaningful life. One afternoon, while I was working in the office, my stepmother and Lily unexpectedly came to visit. I was surprised and somewhat worried. "We came to apologize," stepmother said. "We were wrong to treat you like that," Lily continued. I was silent, not knowing what to say. "We don't expect you to forgive us right away, but we hope that one day we can start over." I nodded, filled with emotion. Even though I couldn't completely forgive them, I was willing to give them a chance. Life is a long journey, with many challenges and sufferings. But if we have the courage to face it and choose to live positively, we can find ourselves again and build a brighter future. Denver, Colorado, summer of my 27th year. After the trauma of my past, I found the light at the end of the tunnel. My new life was no longer haunted by painful memories, but instead filled with peace and happiness. My small law practice grew. I not only helped people in legal difficulties, but also organized free consultations for the community. My passion for helping others became a great driving force in my life. At a seminar on women's legal rights, I met Alex, a passionate and sincere journalist. We quickly became close, and after a while, our love blossomed. Alex was not only my life partner, but also my confidant, always listening and supporting me. We decided to get married in an intimate ceremony with the participation of close friends and colleagues. After many years, I received a letter from my stepmother and Lily. They expressed their regret and wished to see me again. Although I was still hesitant, I decided to meet them to seek reconciliation. The meeting took place in a sincere and emotional atmosphere. We shared our thoughts and feelings and gradually cleared up the misunderstandings of the past. Life is a long journey, with many challenges and sufferings. But if we have the courage to face it and choose to live positively, we can find ourselves again and build a brighter future. Colorado, early spring of my 28th year. I woke up when the sky outside was still not quite bright. The pale light of dawn filtered through the curtains, casting soft yellow streaks on the wall. I sat up, gently pulled the quilt, and looked at the man lying next to me, Alex, sleeping soundly with his shoulders exposed under the blanket. Peace is real. I used to think that peace was something for others. The lucky ones who grew up in love, lived among hugs and kept promises. But I, who grew up as a supporting character in the family, living off the empty space left by others, did not deserve it. Until now, a Saturday morning without an alarm clock, Alex woke up after me. We had breakfast on the porch. The sky was clear. A few little birds flew across the garden. I poured tea, he made coffee, and we both sat reading in silence. No need to say much. No need to play any role. I could sit in front of him without feeling like I had to be good, worthy, or trying to be okay. I just needed to be me. And that was enough. Alex once asked me, "What is the safest thing for you?" I answered after a long while, "It is being silent next to someone without fear of being forgotten." I have learned to smile. I don't remember exactly when I began to forgive my stepmother and Lily. Maybe it was the afternoon they stood at my office door, trembling like children. Maybe it was the time I saw my stepmother grow old, her eyes no longer sharp, but just absent-minded. Or maybe it was the evening I looked through old photos, where my father held me in his arms in the park in early winter. I'm not sure I've completely forgotten, but I know I've stopped blaming. Not because they deserved it, but because I no longer want to carry that anger with me for the rest of my life. Every day, I write a little. I started writing, no longer in torment as before, but as a way to rearrange my inner world. I wrote about the women who were once forgotten in their families. I wrote about the children who grew up between the two ends of pretense and coldness. I wrote about myself, no longer as a victim, but as someone telling my own story with compassion. One day, I received an email from a young girl. "I don't know you, but I read your article about your family. I cried a lot. And I want to thank you for writing down the things I never dared to say out loud. I replied briefly, "Thank you for daring to read." I understood that if just one person reads it, one person sees themselves in it, then the pain I went through is no longer meaningless. Lily, now a single mother. We met again, this time when Lily brought her little daughter, about 3 years old, to see me. Her name is Ella. She said, then hesitated. She is very sensitive. I don't want to repeat what we went through. I looked at Lily for a long time. She was still thin, still spoke a little softly, but she was no longer as sarcastic as before. Perhaps when people become mothers, they will understand the invisible damage they have caused to others. I didn't say much. I just bent down, took Ella's hand, and said, "My name is a friend of your mother's." She smiled brightly, and I saw something I had never known. A family not bound by blood, but by choice. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that tomorrow morning I will still wake up early, make a pot of tea, kiss Alex on the forehead, walk the dog in the park. I know that I will continue writing. And if one day I have children, I will tell them a story with no villains, no pitiful heroines, just people learning to love each other, even if they are clumsy and wrong. I used to be a child standing outside the family photo frame. Now I am the one holding the camera, taking pictures of my own life, with all the light and darkness. And I have learned the most important thing. We can't choose where to start, but we can choose to rewrite the rest, the way we want to live.